Hi everyone, Madeline from Dribble here. How's it going? Give me some emojis in the chat. I'd love to hear where you're joining from, whether this is your first Dribble event, whether you've been to any of our other workshops that we run. Let's get some interaction and engagement in the chat. I love to see that there's so many people from all around the world. I've got someone from France, someone from Bulgaria, Portugal. Amazing. I'm on the West Coast at the moment, so it's 9 a.m. for me, but thank you to everyone who stayed up till 1 a.m. for this. Is it like a crazy time where you guys are? Is someone joining at 3 a.m.? We've had people join from Australia, and that's just a lot of dedication before. So we've got Texas, 1 p.m. here, perfect time. What are you guys drinking? Do you have your coffees? Do you have your sparkling waters? Something a bit stronger, maybe, if you're into that. Essex, amazing, cool. Well, we are so pumped to have you guys here today for our Dribble workshop. We really couldn't have booked a better teacher to teach us the ins and outs of graphic art and crafting your work for a wide use than our buddy Chris DeLorenzo. And a massive thank you goes out to our sponsors as well, MSI, who were able to put on this workshop for free. You guys are really in for an amazing few hours of interaction and learning and designing alongside Chris as you create high impact work together. I've got a few housekeeping notes before we get started, and then we'll kick off with this awesome workshop. So first things first, like I said, use the chat to get to know each other, share your links to your portfolios, share your links to your Instagrams. I want to see your work. And yeah, keep up the engagement. Let's hear what you think of the workshop in that chat. Use the Q&A tab to ask your questions. So Chris is going to be putting some time aside to answer your questions throughout and at the end of the workshop. So pop your questions in the Q&A. There's an ability to upvote other people's questions. So if you want to, if you like the look of someone else's question, just pop the upvote on and that question will rise to the top of the pile. This session is going to be super interactive. So if you want to share your work or come onto stage and ask Chris a question or get some feedback on your work face to face with your camera on and microphone on, all you need to do is raise your hand in the question and answer panel. That will signify that you're up for coming on stage. If you run into any tech issues, just DM me or DM the help tab. We're here throughout the whole event to help you. And if you're sharing on social media, please tag us at Dribble. We love to see what you guys are sharing. Tag Chris at Chris DeLorenzo and tag our sponsors, MSI at MSI US on Instagram. Can't wait to see you guys' setup, how you're watching this and shouting about this on social media. This workshop is being recorded. So I'm going to send a recording out to all you folks after the workshop so you can rewatch it. And we're also streaming out to YouTube. Halfway through this workshop, there'll be a little break where we're going to open a breakout lounge. And in that breakout lounge, there will have MSI employees there to answer any of your questions about their products. If you've got anything that you are curious about MSI, then for sure pop into that lounge. And it's a super informal, informative area to ask your questions to our awesome sponsors. So just so before we start, I wanted to give a bit of a shout out to MSI. Like I said, we're doing this event for free because of them. They're the world leading gaming, content creation and business and productivity solution. They're bolstered by cutting edge R&D capabilities and customer driven innovation. And they've got a wide ranging presence. So if you want to check out the new MSI Creator laptop, then we'll put the link in the chat. Thank you for that, and thank you for your patience with us. Now on to the main event, which is Chris. I'm going to get off the stage in just a second, but we are so pumped to have Chris here today. He's an award-winning graphic artist from New England whose bold line work and visual wit has a compelling clarity and gives his work a wide appeal. He spent his early years as an art director in advertising and then a lead designer in an independent clothing brand. He makes logos and posters until he honed that illustrative style that we know, and he eventually broke out on his own. This wide range of experience led him to adapt his illustrations to work on big and small projects, something that we're learning to do today. And you can find his work on coffee shops in Australia, subway ads in London, caps of bottled wine caps, inside shaving razor boxes, and on the office walls of office buildings. So super pumped to have him. He's done work for New York Times, Tiffany & Co, Twitter, New Balance, Powerade, and many, many more. And today he is here at this Dribble workshop as your teacher, as your mentor. So super pumped for this, and take it away, Chris.
Hello. Thank you for that wonderful intro, Madeline. And hello to everybody. This is wonderful to see so many people from all over the world here. Feels like a typical day for me, not knowing anyone's time zone and emailing people at the wrong time. And like this morning, I thought this was at 9 a.m. my time. It was 9 a.m. Pacific time. So, so I'm a bit out of it because I was ready like in the morning, but now my brain's somewhere else. But I'm back, and it's great to see you guys all here. Thank you so much for joining. Like Melanie said, the goal of this workshop is to help you guys tap into a larger narrative that's already running through your illustrations and to extrapolate on that, and so that you can apply your illustrations to bigger and more varied projects. So I'm going to be walking through my creative process, as well as breaking down some projects that I've done and see how a simple illustration can be complex and a complex illustration can be simple. And using those two sides to make your work have a wider appeal and to bring in new opportunities that you might normally or aren't getting at the moment. And so it all starts with like how we approach the brief, letting language and shapes help guide our approach. And we're going to try to look at common points of entry when you're given an assignment and how you can, use these ideas as building blocks to create a illustration for the assignment. And so I don't know if do you have the poll questions, Madeline? I think it'd be good to know where everyone's coming from, where you are in your careers. If you are an illustrator, if you're like looking to get into illustration, or if you're a designer, or wherever you are, and how you go about doing your process. So how would everybody here define themselves? Are you an illustrator curious, designer curious, you're a juggler and you came here to check out, some other guy talking for a while? I don't know. But let me know. So cool. We got some designers here. Another one is, wait, go back. What was the, can we go back to that? Where are we? Oh, everyone did all the polls already. I see. I don't know how this works. All right. So we got a lot of designers and some others. Cool. love the other. All right, nice. A lot of freelancers here. I'm also a freelancer. All right, we got some digis and some pencilers. A few brave, bold pen users straight on the page. I like it. Yeah, what are you guys using for your work these days? Are a lot of people using iPads like touchscreen? If if you're using iPad a lot, say touchscreen. If you're using like a Wacom or something, or scanning pictures, do non-touchscreen. Nice, cool. Yeah, I've been using recently the MSI laptop. It's pretty great. If you are a creator, and because it has the touchscreen capability to it, so you can draw right on it with a pen. So I can doodle right here and draw right on the computer, which is great for on the go. And if you're also a gamer, I've been playing a little bit of Elden Ring on my laptop, which has been incredible, as well as doing After Effects. And so it's pretty amazing right now. And although I'm trying to convert from Mac to PC, and a couple button combos get in the way, but other than that, it's been awesome, and not as such a hard transition as I thought it would be. Um, so yeah, Madeline, I guess I'll present. It's kind of weird. I'm like, there's like crowd reaction. Don't know what everyone's doing, but hopefully I don't sound like an idiot, and you guys are going to have fun today. All right, let's dive in. And share. So Madeline, can you still see me? Do I pop up? Oh yeah, there I am. What's up? I'm like a little bubble in those old pop-up videos. Like, oh, did you know? um, all right. So little drawings, big projects. It's what we're calling this today. That's how I started off, doing little drawings, making big projects, and hopefully I can give you guys some ideas and pointers to take your work to the next level. And so, like I said, I'm using the MSI laptop, and I want to show a couple pictures of it. It looks pretty cool. It's just very similar to like a MacBook in a way. It's got a nice aluminum chassis, and a huge screen. It's like 17 and a half inches. And the MSI people are in another chat room if you want to ask any questions about it. But it's been an awesome laptop to use for my projects recently, because I can do like After Effects and Illustrator and Photoshop at the same time. And actually does this kind of pretty cool thing. I noticed like it will pop up like, we're entering hyper power mode when you have all those programs running at the same time. Where on like a Mac is like you're just like it just crashes. What this is like, it says it's like we're entering like crazy work mode, so we're gonna work extra hard on the inside. So that's pretty nice to know. But other than that, so hello, my name, if you guys don't know me, is Chris DeLorenzo, Christopher DeLorenzo, either one. Um, and I consider myself a graphic artist more than an illustrator these days, but that's because my graphic design residuals of my previous career kind of trickle into my work, and they're always informing how I go about a project. But I am mostly an illustrator. So I focus on simple, complex line illustrations. And for a lot of my commercial work, so mainly doing spots or larger connected worlds for all kinds of things. I use, like Madeline's saying, I use strong lines, and I try to keep my motions simple and feature mainly focus on conceptual and like clear messaging. So I started my career in New York in advertising as a junior art director, and then I became the lead designer for a small clothing company called Johnny Cupcakes. And so here's a lot of work I did with Johnny Cupcakes over the years. And in advertising, they use a lot of my conceptual thinking. And when I moved to Johnny Cupcakes, because I wanted to do more illustration. I wanted to actually design and draw. I didn't like just doing spec work, like things that never would have gotten made because that's the world of advertising. You work, work, work. The clients go in a different direction. Okay, cool. So I didn't like that. Wanted to do more design illustration because I knew I had that in me. So at Johnny Cupcakes, I got to hone that illustration and design skill. And I noticed that like one skill was emerging more than others. Like I like to draw, and I didn't want to get bogged down by always keeping up with typography and the design trends and like trying to research all these anachronisms. And I just wanted to draw how I drew. And so all those principles that I learned, and experience I had, and at Johnny Cupcakes, I started to focus on my own work. All these little doodles in the margins of the things that, oh, that doesn't quite work for Johnny Cupcakes. It's not the voice. But slowly I started to trickle those in, like the second from the top left, these hands and the skeletons, and on the bottom, and then even like the truck with all the signs on it. Like a lot of my thinking is there, but I had to always kind of change it to fit into the Johnny Cupcakes voice. And so learning how to adapt for a different brand, but still draw and communicate an idea um, was taxing in a way because you're like, well, I want to draw it this way, but I know that it's for a different audience. So I need to draw it another way. And then so that got annoying to me for after a while, and I just wanted to draw the way I drew. And so, eventually came to work my style more into the work. And then this is a sample of my line drawings and a display of like things from spots to bigger connected worlds to personal work. So, if you guys are just starting your career, I like to say that you should approach illustration like a tradesman and not an artist. And that goes with like not letting that ego um, take hold that comes with an artist. And I think that will help you achieve like more progress in your career because it will help you explore more in how you approach projects. You won't fall back on like a certain style or emotional telegraphing in your work. If you're like, all the people I draw always look sad, that's my thing. Well, you're only going to get work that's like you're drawing sad people all the time, but that's fine if that's what you want. And so like a artist says like, this is what I have to say, whereas an illustrator has to say, I can help you say it better. And so that's like I always try to keep that in mind. So when a potential client views your work, it may look too much like a gallery if you're more on like the artist side, and then sometimes they can't see themselves using your work for their message. It's only your message. So it's like when you hire a contractor to do work on your house or something, and you're like, I just hired you to put these floorboards in, and you put them on the ceiling, and the contractor's like, well, that's like my thing. I put floorboards on the ceiling. It's like my trademark. And you're like, well, I hired you for this. We agreed on the floors. So like you're paying them for a collective vision that you both agreed on. And that's like what an art director does for an illustrator. So you have to agree on something. And if that art director is like, hey, I love all your sad people, do that. Awesome. um, and so I'm going to walk you a bit through the creative process that I have. It's very simple. It is number one, read the brief. Number two, sketch the brief. And number three, sketch the sketch. And what I mean by that is like read the brief, look for what the client is saying in their words to help you achieve like what they're after. That's why I love getting things in writing from a client because there will always be like they use their words and they know their product and what they want. And so they'll put specific things in there that you can find and work out in a way. So you take the words and you make a list of those and you branch off. You do the whole word web thing. Very typical. I do it. Everyone does it. And I like to draw those words, figure out what those words like look like, are just to get that visual vocabulary into my head. And then once I have like almost like a word diagram, a picture diagram, then I can start to figure out a concept or a composition. And then that's when you sketch the sketch. So you sketch the things that you just sketched and you make them a bigger picture. And so you want to, I usually keep it loose, very much just like trying to find a way in, as I was saying earlier. And that's what I hope to help you guys with. Um, yeah. And then you just have to keep it loose because sometimes your head leads, sometimes your hand leads. And I think this is where people like think that like you must be born creative or an artist to be able to draw and just like follow your gut. I just draw. I'm just letting my gut go. And but like that's the thing. Like everybody has a gut, and so you just gotta trust yourself. And the more you do it, the more you get better at it. Um, and so just always start drawing, no matter like what. If you don't have an image in mind, um, and then I always try to keep checking my notes, like never veering too far from the brief. I like to keep it handy so I can go down some rabbit holes, and then I'm like, okay, now I just spent an hour doing something, and I'm going to present it to a client, and they're going to be like, "This was way off." Like, and that doesn't help anybody. I lost time. They lost time. They fired me. I'm broke. I live in a trash can now. It's terrible. So you always want to keep the brief handy, and always track it. Make sure you guys are aligned. It's like a nice parallel movement. And so my work, as you know, is not technically amazing. It's not like, I'm not using creative programs. I'm like in a totally unique way that like you see some illustrators do, and like that's their thing. My work is very much responsive to like what I'm working in. If it is marker or digital or watercolor, or if I get a new pen one day, like I feel that I let those different mediums dictate how I draw. Sometimes it's very natural, but what I like to keep consistent is how I approach drawing things. And so I have a little thing. This is what I'll break down in this presentation, is what I'm calling the creative key ring. Like I keep it on my belt loop. It jingle jangles while I walk through the house. And um, so these little tips, I hope that we can pull out and enter some new doors, find out what's inside. And so I like to say that there's no skeleton key, one thing that opens up all the doors. And so like there's no one technique that will fit all your projects, but these are some insights to keep in mind if you're stuck with what to do. um, we can start to simplify your images if your work is detailed, or add detail if your work is simple, and then therefore start to round out your storytelling abilities and your illustration portfolio. And again, like these points might sound like illustration 101 if to anybody, but I gotta tell you, I never took any advanced illustration classes, so 101's all I got. But a little bit of gusto, some tenacity, and you got yourself a career. So, and if you know all these, hopefully they just serve as a reminder to you. And you don't need to be the world's most technical illustrator to make a good career. You just need to be consistent and to keep drawing. And so number one is think in basic shapes. Um, Allow shapes to connect things for you, like reducing something to its barest form can help you unlock a new idea or a connection. So, like, it's all about how you look at something. Like, one of the simplest explanations of this is, if you draw a triangle, most people, it's just a triangle. It's a shape, but to some illustrators, or it can, if you add a line on top and maybe a circle, it starts to look like a road and a sunset. You add a little couple triangles and some dots, and there you go. It's a full fleshed idea um, that just came from a triangle. Um, and so that's really basic. So you can put the triangle or the line on the bottom and make a witch, keep the circle up top, and you got a little moon behind her. So like just because it's a triangle doesn't mean it only has to be a triangle. It can like be a window into something fun and unique. And then since it is so simple, it gives you a way to go, how can I make this interesting? Maybe the triangle is made out of cut paper and the lines are hand drawn and the moon is like painted. So then it becomes a nice textural illustration with depth to it when all you do is like draw shapes that a 3-year-old learns. And that's what's awesome about illustration. And a joke I like to make sometimes when people are like, oh, like I wish I could draw. And it's like, well, we all learned how to draw. It was like our first thing we did as kids. We all picked up a crayon. And I'm like, no, 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 you are a better person because you advanced in life. You went beyond that. I'm still stuck as a 3-year-old with my crayons and markers. But I'm a self-deprecating kind of guy. Um, and so these are some examples of some illustrations I made that use these simple shapes to make a story and to make a funny image of somewhat. On the left, these cotton fields that I reduced to simple circles, but using them in that way, I could make them float. I could make them become an abstract element that added this sort of depth to a story. Um, and on the bottom, we these people. This woman's eating a pizza, but her face is also triangular shaped, and there's this reflection, and it creates like a visual symmetry that is pleasant to people. To some people, some people might not like it. And then on the right, this was about like passwords and like a couple sharing a password, and so just taking the basic shape of a circle again and putting them as the heads of these people, and then it automatically creates like an interesting story that really didn't need much. It's all right there. And if you're a designer, a lot of these like could almost be logos, and that's how my simple illustration style did develop, was because I was doing a lot of logos, and that's sort of where I started my career at. Like wanted to do that more with branding, but wanted to do more with it. So here we are. Um, and so I wanted to give you guys a quick, like another quick version of this. Um, say it's kind of like a quick assignment in a way that I created. It's all just made up. But say you're given an assignment, someone hits you up, and they're like, we got a hip hop event happening in the city, and we need an illustration to go on like the lanyard, the stamp, like the promo, like social. Maybe it'll be a T-shirt, and it's going to be a poster. And you're like, all right, this one illustration has to do all that, and so you start to. It's like, okay, so you have to reduce your illustration to be on a stamp. That's like almost lowest common denominator. So it should be simple in color. It shouldn't be too complex, but it needs to almost be like a logo. But when you blow up a logo to a poster, it's not that interesting. So you need something else. And this is where it gets fun. I love these challenges of how can I make a simple, clear image that says a lot without saying too much. I know. So like I was like, we go back to reading the brief. All we have is hip hop is city to go off of. So we make a list and we're like, what's in a city? Buildings, bridges, taxis, people. Um, what's hip hop? What are like some visual cues of hip hop? Like a microphone, like a person rapping, a boombox, a DJ, vinyl, and like write this simple list of like of these iconic images because this is for a wide general audience, and so you pull from a larger collective understanding of these words. So if the client is like a bit more specific and they're like, no, this is only for like this East Coast rappers who rap in sign language, and you're like, okay, very specific. Maybe I can't do all this. Like maybe there's something else that is involved. But if it's so general, we're going to do it this way. Um, so I'm just going to take the first two things, like buildings and microphones, and see what I can do. I reduce a microphone to its bare shape. Again, circle, rectangle. Like what can go from here? Like what what will open up when I start drawing this image? Can I make an actual interesting composition from this? You look at like where are some openings? Like I add a little bit. Maybe it's perspective. Maybe this is too much city. It's got too many buildings. Maybe it's a bit too complex. It just more so says like maybe open mic night in downtown New York rather than like a hip hop event. But I drew it. It's one way. Like maybe there's another version of it. So start again. And what else can do? Maybe it's a bridge and the rapper's in the center and he's connecting the two sides of the city, or maybe it's not buildings, maybe it's like an amplifier or like records or something, or a crowd on one side. But using a microphone as that center image to convey that sort of aha moment, that graphic wit, and that just came from two shapes to start. You can keep going. You can be like, what if I flip the microphone? Um, that's kind of, I can start to see what that looks like. Double it up, some visual symmetry. Boom, you've got a rapper with headphones. You're adding like the texture of the microphone. Maybe that is also on his shirt, and you start to get a little bit of more like a nice visual harmony going on. But you're like, oh well, wait, I didn't do the city part. Um, that's okay. Sometimes you gotta like just explore these things and find out what works, because you may stumble across something else. Like I liked how this one looks, and so maybe I expanded a bit more. I'm like, oh, that flannel shirt kind of looks like a sewer grate or something, and then I start to expand it from there. And start to develop a larger story and get a little bit more surreal, because it's like no one has a sewer grate as a shoulder. I mean, I've never met anyone that does, but this guy does. And then it starts to like take down the walls a bit of the illustration. And then it starts to become a bit more abstract, which is I'm always a fan of. And so then you could totally like expand upon this. The city's longer. Then you break the frame a bit and you can start adding like a taxi cab with like a boom box on it, or all this kind of stuff can branch out from there. And that is like you know a good little example of how you can take one little thing in your word web and start to create a full-fledged illustration with just a couple tweaks. So hopefully that makes sense. And again, I like to say cliche can lead the way. I don't like to say that. I've never really said that before. I did it for this presentation. But cliches are good things. Despite, being cliche, they're cliche for a reason. Like people will say like puns are the lowest form of humor because they're like the most, widely understood in a way. But I disagree with that. I think they are a high form of humor, because I make too many of them. Um, so what I mean by cliche can lead the way is don't be afraid to use universal symbolism to bring connection and feeling into your work. By bringing nature, just drawing a flower in an illustration automatically tells the viewer like, oh, this is about nature, this is about like humanity, this is about something like fragile, and it's about a place, it's about outdoors, and it's just a simple flower. A lot of my drawings, if you notice, have like just like a hand in them or a crop of a person, because you don't need to show the whole human sometimes to just show humanity or to show a person. It's like this instant connection. Like if the brief is like, we want to show like um, helping hands for this. No, never mind. I have another example. I'll tell you. Scratch that. Um, So by throwing disembodied hand in an illustration, you associate it with touch, you associate it with like humanity, and showing an eyeball or something can say a person as well. It can say looking. It can say it has a deeper meaning because eyeballs are the gateway to the soul, and just a little simple thing can make an illustration deeper. So back to like cliches, like I have an example of some things I found on the website. If any of these are illustrations, I'm sorry, I just did a quick Google search. But this is just to show how like an idea, a concept, like an approach to a concept can be different, but also the same, and it can be reused in many different ways, and that's fine because um, what was I going to say? Oh yeah, like so I like to say that like illustration is seen by the masses, and so you have to approach it sometimes like with your friend's mom in mind, like if she's flipping through a magazine, or like the grocery store clerk like who comes across this thing while they're stacking shelves, and then they see a poster of it on their way home. Um, and so it's this universal language that we can tap into no matter what. Like we know that a head makes it shows a person, it shows thought, and if you put something in that head, you start to get a deeper meaning. Like there are what's in the head is symbolic of something else. Um, and so on the left are some images that sort of use this idea, and on the right are some drawings that I have done in the past that also are, um, branches from that same concept. And so here are some spots that I've done over the years for Texas Monthly that I think use cliche in a way. Um, a cliche meaning that like it's things that we all understand. It's nothing too deep. You don't have to be on the inside crowd to get. Um, and they're all very apparent. Like what you think these illustrations are about, they are. Um, like on the left, the farmer with the donkey. That's about democratic farmers. Um, on the left of that, a tree on fire. That's about like these cedar burners in Texas. But it's taking that thing like that first level idea of like, well, this is just about Texas cedar burners. Then I'm going to draw a tree on fire, but maybe I'm using this graphically. How I approach it is the unique way that it goes about it, like how the flames create the shape of the leaves. Um, and so yeah, it's a very good tool that's endless. So always keep that in mind. Um, about using cliches. And so here are some other examples of of the face and the head images again. It shows connection to a person. This was for honey packaging, and I use a similar language. Like this is what I wanted to say before. On the second page of this, there's these two hands that make a honeycomb or a beehive, and they were just like, it's in safe hands, like we take care of our bees. And that's pretty much what I had to go on. And you can say like, well, the hands, maybe the best thing would be not to show it, but when you read it you want to see the illustration accompany it. And so sometimes like, well, yeah, with just showing hands like holding a beehive like be cliche of the brief because it's the first thing that you think of. Um, and it can be, but also it can be interesting. And finding those interesting ways to make it not cliche is what I love to do. And so, this sort of overlapping of the hands making a beehive was that aha idea and elevated the cliche to something else. Um, so when we tap into the universal language system that we've created, this like hieroglyphic system of the world. My friend and one-time mentor, Clark Orr, he's a great illustrator and designer. He wants to that it's not what it looks like, it's what it looks like it looks like. And this kind of goes back to the basic shapes thing. Um, I could draw a plane, but it won't look like a plane. It's just like a couple like oblongs and a triangle at the end. But it's like what you think a plane looks like, and doing that of like good example is a horse. Can't draw a horse. Not a lot of designers can, or illustrators can do that. Their legs. Which way are they going? Left, right? I don't know where their elbows are, but you can draw like what you think a horse looks like, and it can be fine. Like because it's about how you are seeing things, and people will interpret that. Like okay, that's a horse. Yeah, I know, I get that because I also have no idea how their legs work. But long face, four legs, tail, you're good. So doesn't have to be too complicated. So it's what it looks like. It looks like, and I love that saying. So thanks, Clark, for all your wisdom. Um, and if anyone knows Clark Orr's work or doesn't, they should check him out. He's a Florida-based guy. Has an awesome brand called Hellcats. So moving on to another key in our creative key ring, don't be square. And this has helped me a lot in the past couple of years of finding opportunities to have my work be used in a whole lot of different areas, not just limited to like one page in a magazine, and I have to fill up, all four sides of the page. And as a web page is also four sides, but using things for the web has kind of evolved a bit, and it's not when you get assigned an illustration for web based, they're not squares anymore. They are free flowing, and keeping that in mind when you're drawing or making a composition personally that you want to advertise to get more work, by not having squares like gives a client a better idea of like how they could use it. Um, and so like when you're not a square, there's literally no end to a drawing, and there's no end to what you can do with it. It can be placed on a shirt, it can be on like a shirt label, it can be on a menu or a book chapter or on the packaging of something. um, so if excuse me so if clients are restricted in how they use your drawings, um, then you only will get so many opportunities. But if they aren't restricted with how they use it, then they will want to use it on more things, and therefore it's a bigger payout for you because then you can charge them for you said you just wanted this for the magazine, but now you want to make t-shirts on it, or you want to use it for the email newsletter footer or something, because it's not contained and they can just place it somewhere, and that gets you more work and more longevity out of one drawing, because then you just put in your contract, or your usage rights that this is just for web, or this is just for this one time thing, and it's great. So keeping that in mind is super super helpful. And here's some examples that I did for a project recently where I kept things without borders, and they were able to use them in many different capacities. And then at one point, we even animated them because, like, they were just like, "Well, it's asking for it," because it's almost like it's not complete yet. So, like, a client like can see it being used in different ways, and that is like, and especially because the clients hire you, like an art director will hire you, and so if they feel like there's a more collaborative element involved, and it's not just like here's my painting on all four sides and there's no room for improvement or any kind of addition, then you really box yourself in that way, literally. um, and so yeah, this was really fun one, and these are being used in all different kinds of places now for this campaign that I did for Finland. Any Finlanders out there? I just want to pause for one second because I just looked over into the public chat room. I may not see these right now, like while I have like my screen up, because I need to kind of flip back and forth. So I just popped over. But yeah, I just saw Mimi C's question about animating them. These ones I didn't animate. Sometimes I do animate. My animation is limited. I'm not as skilled as I know where my strengths are, but there are some that I have done myself. But most of the time, if a client wants it quicker, done better, that we usually hire out. I work a lot with Andrew Embry. He's kind of my go-to guy for illustration. He handles a lot of my work. But a woman named Pip Williamson did these ones. She's based in Amsterdam, but she's from England. She's great. Um, so yeah. Um, so moving on to the wheel of style is another thing that maybe people will find interesting. And it's a good little key on our creative key ring. And so there's many ways to go about producing an illustration, as you know, and that can lead people to be stuck if you're like, what is my style? I don't know. I have all these ideas. I feel like I'm flip flopping too much. That's fine. Like, I'm the biggest flip flopper there is, because like it's like this idea of like you just want to draw something that you see. um, you have an image in your head, and like you're like, well, that's like you like some idea got planted and you want to do it, but you're like, this not right in this way, you want to do it another way. It's like you don't just listen to one type of music. In different days, like you are feeling different types of music you want to listen to. And sometimes with drawing, you're like, well, I want to draw something like very simple today, or I want to draw something very detailed. It just comes down to like what you're feeling in that time. um, and so sometimes if I have a concept for a drawing, but it is too generic, and I'm like, this is kind of first level. There's nothing like too interesting about it. I didn't find that aha moment yet. Um, so to bring it to a bit more interesting level, like you play with the form of it, or the character design of it, or the perspective that you draw it in. So how this wheel, if you didn't get it quite yet, is like the big arrow point. No, the big arrow points to the inside, and the small arrow points to the outside. So you can, it's not interactive, but you know, imagine you spin it. One lands on conceptual, one lands on narrative. No, a color, one lands on narrative. Sorry. And so so then it kind of gives you this way of like, okay, like I'm going to do a drawing that has like a story to it, like something's going on in it. It's almost like a comic strip without bubbles. And you're like, okay, well, how is that different than like a comic strip without bubbles? Maybe it's like how you do it with the color. Either you're using a different color palette than what you normally use, or you do it all in black and white with like strong shadows. So it just, or you think about maybe it's going to be just dots of color rather than a full fill, or how you approach applying the color. And that can sort of break you out of a rut that you might be in, or give like a thumbnail sketch you did, and you're like, that's kind of boring, but I got nothing else. Like make it interesting in some way by just spinning the wheel. Um, and so, like another example is like maybe I have like a good narrative idea, but it's going to be printed small, and like the whole story isn't going to show up there. So maybe I do it with like a different perspective. Maybe it's just like a flat perspective, um, and then I can give it a bit more depth because it's a flat illustration with like a narrative. So because narrative, you think like, oh, it's got a storyline, but playing with perspective on that, like, oh, maybe it's just flattened, can actually be a pretty cool style. Like, and then you go, oh, like, I like how I draw it this way, and then you keep going. So it's not like you have to like, oh, this is how I see the world. It's a vision, and like this is my expression of like when I look outside, the world is flat and bold. It's like, no, sometimes like what looks good on the page, and combining different elements to see to make a drawing be interesting. And there's like really no clear cut formula, and so you have to just spin the wheel. And so like my strengths, like I found that they're reducing things and using line. And so it's where I feel comfortable. And so when I look at drawing something, I think about like what information needs to be necessary to get my point across. And like I can make a drawing look full and balanced with just lines. And so like if I'm drawing my neighbor's house or something for fun, like I think about like how the lines and shape could make that interesting. Like, and that's where I found that like I enjoy that. So my work tends to fall into that category. But every now and then I get bored and I want to spice it up, spin the wheel of style. So here's a quick showing of like something I did for a wine label, um, and I didn't have much to go on. I've been doing some wine labels for this company called Double Trouble, and they were like, "We have a new wine. It's got these grapes from a vineyard that's right next to this river where like there's awesome kayaking." They're like, "So maybe a nod to kayaking." I'm like, "Okay, cool. I gotta draw these kayakers." And I was like, "Kayaking's not cool, is it? I don't know." I've never really done it, but I always draw these foxes on the wine labels. That's kind of like a recurrent theme I've been doing. So there's these two foxes, and they represent the owners. And I was like, okay, like what can I do differently? Like, so the first one is like using narrative and no, using action and perspective. So there's like an action happening. This guy's going down the rapids, but the perspective is kind of this first person view, and isn't it? And it makes for an interesting image. And on the right, I kind of went for a more narrative approach with um, color, but it's a black and white sketch. But I was going to use, strong like darks in the front and then lighter colors in the back. But you kind of create the story. Like this guy's going down this river. These foxes, are they chasing him? Are they watching him? It's a bit ominous. And then the third, I did more conceptual, and I going back like using on the red. There's reference, and what I mean by reference is like referencing something that you saw. Like either it's an old style of illustration or it's from like the colors that you saw that a house was painted, or like maybe there's like, oh, I saw this Picasso image, and like what if I could take that sort of line style but draw this thing with it that's like totally unrelated. So this I was referencing my own personal work, like things that I don't really do for clients that much, but slowly started to come in. So I referenced like some work I've been doing on my own, and put that in with their product into it, and so it made for an interesting image, and eventually became what we did with the wine label. And so here you see the final one, which we kept single color, but connected these flowers and this fragmented scene where things blend into one another. I'm going to hop back over to the chat in case anyone, if I see anything, just to Matt Amos, you ooze coolness. Yeah. All right. Okay. My other thing I like to keep in mind, or what you should keep in mind, if you're ever in a rut and you're like, how can I evolve these drawings? I just keep drawing the same guy with funky sneakers. He's in all my drawings. Like, I don't know what to do with him yet. Just an example. If you draw a guy with funky sneakers, I'm about to tell you how to create a whole new world for him. So when I first started doing work, and I had it in a couple publications, and I was like, this is amazing. My life's done. I'm in a magazine. And then you're like, I got the check for like $500 after like a month when I did it. And I was like, okay, I can't live off of $500 like every couple months. So I had to start thinking of like, how can I expand my drawings to get them to be used for more things. And so I like to say to take your drawings for a drive. Um, and so it's not always about drawing like the last thing you drew. It's about drawing the next thing you draw, thinking about the next thing you draw. Um, because like you don't want to get pigeonholed too easily. I had to start expanding because, um, you know, like I said, price point of like a small spot illustration only got me so far. And so people start having a hard time justifying like paying you more for just a simple small image. And so that's where, I start to expand and do a more complex drawing. And so like it has a more class to it, I guess, or it looks like it took longer. Because sometimes, you see a small drawing and you go, that took you 2 seconds. Like, I'm only going to pay you 2 cents. Um, and that's not good. So you want to show that you have a range and that these small drawings are just as good as these big drawings. And so take a drawing for a drive. Um, and so it can be as simple as like taking a small illustration and like, you know, follow down the road that's on and extend some part of it. Picture what is around the bend on that drawing, like extend a line somewhere else and see what else you can add to it. Like, okay, well, this was just a simple concept, like, but if you start to add more, like, who cares? Like, post that concept, make it that thing, then on your own, see where else it can go. Almost like tear apart the image and see what else you can create from it. Like, or take your work and drive it to your friend's house. How would it look with more realism added to it than you normally do? Um, and so, like, like what if it's about lines this time? Like, I always do line drawings. What if I didn't? And I did it with shapes and color instead. So you want to let your work be curious. Like, you want them to like go down certain roads that you might not have gone down. And I want to show you guys a progress in a way of the drawings that I've done. I start with simple concept and then move to like a place where like I didn't think my drawings were going to go ever. Like, I was like, that's not me. That's too detailed and there's too much going on. And maybe it lost some of the concept, but like it's fun. And it got me to a place where I did not think I was going to end up. So like on the left here is a simple drawing with flower becomes an eye, clear concept, put it in the New Yorker, send me a check for 200. I'm retiring on the beach. Boom. No, you got to keep going. So, my wife was pregnant at the time. And so I was like, I like these flowers. Like, what else can I do with it? Extending the body parts a bit more and becoming it. There's still a concept to it, growing something. And then on the right, it's like, I like drawing these flower faces. And then you do this weird abstract thing that just kept going from drawing flowers. And it didn't stop there. It kept going. So I started drawing more flower people. I liked how that looked. I liked the form of it, how I can interplay them together. Um, like on the left or in the middle here, the line is the flower and that is her. Whereas on the left on this one, the flowers go through her and she's her own object. Um, and just that juxtaposition of them, I really found interesting. And I was like, oh, I would not done that because it's not like a simple, clever, you know, um, like editorial illustration. But I'm like, this can be. So I start to develop it further, like mixing both things together, lines, flowers. Where am I going? The right failed experiment. And then I started progressing more, simplifying it, bringing in shapes, bringing in color. Um, like the middle one I did after like Joe Biden's inauguration when Amanda Gorman spoke. I was inspired by that, and I was like, it wasn't for anything. It's just something I did on my own, but I combined this drawing style that I was doing with color and like with an idea. Like one of the flower faces or one of the flowers makes a face around her. There's like a profile. It's subtle, but it's there, and that's from the previous drawing. and then the fragments are from the previous drawing, but they're combined. And then on the right, I start to do all color and maybe a bit more narrative with the work. But it's like, well, what are the flowers? There's no concept. I know, but it was fun to do, and it brought a bit more depth to my work that I didn't normally explore or was afraid to, because it wasn't this like aha, clear, clever moment. Um, and then eventually got hit up by Texas Monthly again to do something for them, and they wanted me to draw these four women, and there wasn't really a clear idea because it was so like these four women that are from different areas, and I was like, let me just draw these people with the flowers, like that can combine and weave them together. um, and so they like that, and I drew on the left, you'll see, is the black and white version, the like my line drawing, and I didn't like how that looked, and me and the art director were both like, yeah, it didn't hit like how we thought it would, like how some of these other drawings do. There's a simplicity to them, but this one was a bit more real, and so it needed a bit more realism. And on the right, I was like, let me just screw around in Photoshop, and then I just started drawing in Photoshop and playing with different brushes and color and tones, and came out to something a bit different than what I had normally done, and a lot different from where I started from with this whole series. So took a drawing for a drive, and now it lives somewhere else. I'll take another drawing for a drive soon, and then we'll see where that one goes. Yeah, and then this. Oh yeah, I forgot this one. This one is uh, a similar idea, but for another company that wove a bunch of stories together. And since this one was a bit more fun and playful, I got to bring more of my line drawing style into it. And so, two different illustrations with like the same abstract concept to it, but done in two different ways, just because of this toolbox that I've started to create for myself, um, of knowing that I can draw with lines, and when I don't have lines, I can draw with texture or with detail. And so yeah, so and then it brings a bit more depth to my work, and someone might hit me up for more detailed illustration in the future. I might panic because I don't do those a lot, but working it in both ways and figuring out, okay, like this personal style can now weave into my client work, is something that I have learned over the past couple of years. Um, is everybody cool? We're having fun still. It's tough because I don't, trying to see reaction. Yeah. Also, this is my first time doing a workshop or speaking about my work, so I'm excited for the Q&A, obviously, um, and hear from you guys and be a bit more of like a conversation. So I feel like I'm talking a lot, but uh, we're just going to run through this, and then we're going to do a little like workshop part of it where we're going to try to draw together. I got two briefs we can choose from, and it'll be fun because this is new to me too. So uh, we're we're not going to create masterpieces, but we're gonna try out some of these like thinking skills in a way. Hold on, let me get some water. What's the sun? Oh, and someone's talking to somebody else. I was like, I didn't do Sunkiss Curls logo, did I? All right, back to it. All right, so we did um, taking our drawings for a drive, and now we're going to focus on interaction. So this is big. This was big for me. It might be big for you. Maybe you're like, I don't want to do interaction. Like I like my soft, simple illustrations. But these days, like everything is interactive. Nobody wants an illustration for like one thing anymore. They want everything. They are like, we love this illustration. We're going to put it on this, we're going to put it on that, we're going to put it on the bottom of your shoe, we're going to stretch it on this poster that you didn't approve and now it's out of focus and pixelated, but because we want to use illustration everywhere. um, and and then eventually, like, illustration is always, for me at least, I've been asked, here's like 10 things we want you to illustrate. Oh, can they be animated? It's always like a last minute thing. And so, like, the but animation is great because you can get paid more with animation. You can charge higher fees if things are animated, even if you're paying another animator. You can figure out costs with that animator and bring it back to the client, because clients love their stuff animated. So if they have the money, they will pay for it, and then that's more money for you, less kind of work you have to do, uh, work for an animator as well. So everybody benefits. So keeping like interaction in mind can open up a lot of doors for your illustration that you like. Oh, well, I'm not an animator. I don't want to be an animator, but like clients want their work animated. Like when they go on a website, um, like every magazine is online now and in print. So if there's a animated version for the website, like versus the print version, you can get paid more and charge a bigger fee for that. And it's become a lot more commonplace that it's really good to start to think this way. And if you don't like have any animation in your portfolio, you're like, so an art director won't hire me for that. Like, go on Dribble, like find an animator, and like message them and be like, hey, like, would you want to, I'll give you like $200. Can you, like, whatever, like, or can I promote you on my website with this illustration I did so that I can promote it? I had this drawing and I want to see what it looks like animated. Like, would you be up for helping me out? And then like you can put that up, and then that now you have an animation in your portfolio. And you don't have to tell an art director you don't know how to animate it. You can just figure that out once they once they hire you. um, and so what was I gonna say? So yeah, this was a project that I did for Estee Lauder Lab Series, and it started off like it was going to be used for a lot of things. There's a lot of illustrations to be done, and for this one, they were like, "This is going to be on a bag. And it's going to like wrap around the bag." And it's about all these skincare products for men. And so I drew pretty much what it looks like is like a storyboard in a way of an animation. Because that just helps. That's how my brain works. I may draw one thing, like the guy on the left shaving with shaving cream, but to me, I see shaving cream and it looks like puffs of clouds, and then puffs of clouds like can lead to like a motorcycle exhaust. And then from there, the motorcycle's driving through a city, and it all kind of extends and it just goes from there. Um, but like breaking down that wall of like, well, this is shaving cream. What else goes with shaving cream? Like, no, like shaving cream, what does it look like? What does it look like? It looks like clouds. And then what are clouds? And then you can animate, because like you think about a drawing, or if you see a modern animation today, like things like are like they animate either like Citizen Kane style, they like zoom in and there's something else, or they they change shape, like maybe that bottle on the right, it's tall and slender. Maybe for the transition, like, in a commercial, it's like lab series, and it turns, it's like for on the go, and then like it becomes like a city bus and like drives away. Like that, using those shapes in that way, like, and how you would make them interactive is very good to keep in mind. And so this is some more stuff that I use keeping interaction in mind. And that's just not just for animation. Like this just to connect many different elements in a story. Um, this was for the top of a box that like you opened up and it had all the gifts inside. And they wanted to highlight these like six dudes that with all these different personalities. And like if I drew them all kind of together, like kind of almost like a lineup, it'd be a little bit like United Colors of Benetton, like we're all different and diverse, and look at us. And it's like there's no like depth to it. So just starting to draw like what they're into, and then all those images and things that can combine like is guitar strings on the right. Those are like hair, and it's about like a beard grooming product. And so the guy's holding the bridge of the guitar, and then like the neck goes into the bottle. And then this guy's walking his dog, and then the guy's driving a car behind him. And it's just like too many things, but it is a lot of stuff. But you can make it interesting just because like you would go like, okay, like how would this be animated? And then these were some spots again, no borders, um, showing that I had all this. This is why they came to me for like all these things. And these were like the product pages on the website, and they did. A lot of the times when people are building websites, they don't know. Like the client doesn't know like what the final dimensions are. I'm always like, yeah, can I get some ratios? Like, what are some dimensions? And they're like, and then they sent me 1920 by 1080. I'm like, that's just a website size. And they're like, we don't know yet. We're going to use it in place. So keeping them open helps them be able to use it in some place with like while they're building it as well. And I want to stop sharing real quick to then show another thing. Yes, so then we eventually did animate this, like all this stuff together, which was pretty fun. Andrew Embry animated this. He did a great job. Yeah. Where am I at? You guys see me? Or okay. Yeah, so that was awesome because it didn't start off like we want an animation. It just almost evolved in that, like how we see these things. Like the client saw them animated, like in their heads, like they were like begging for it, and so we were like, okay, yeah, you want animation? Like we can do that. And they were like, just like make it animated, like. um, so yeah, that's keeping that interaction element in mind is really really beneficial to like broaden your portfolio. And so this was another one that I'll show. On the left was a sketch. They had a bunch of different. It's for like an app store, and so they wanted a bunch of like all the different kinds of apps that you can buy. And so on the left, I did one of like one guy's journey, and like he opens up his phone and he finds all these apps, and it shows him like reading, playing games, buying stuff, filming movies. But this was like an idea of like a static image. Like this, you can see it just having four walls around it, and it being like an editorial because there wasn't like enough story to it. Who's this guy? Why do I care about him? Why is there like 6 versions of him? Is he like Neo from the Matrix all of a sudden? So I did another idea where I was like, okay, let me take these apps and like show all these different worlds, like show music, reading, games, shopping, and combine that into a bigger world. And so it creates a whole like universe that you can get lost in. Whereas on the left, it's like, it's one guy's story. And for a viewer, you may see that and go like, well, I'm not a white guy with a side part, so I don't care. Moving on. Like you might not stop on that illustration, but something on the right, you're like, what's going on here? There's a lot I can get lost in, and if there's a lot I can chop up if I need to. Like if we want to just highlight one element or the company wants to, use this as like a floater thing on the website, like a little hidden point um, on the page, like, cut out and placed somewhere else. And so I developed that a little bit further, um, trying to explore that sort of world idea a bit more, and like just like kind of figuring out some interaction, like what what flows, like where are things working, like what can I do with, um, you know like an app icon, or a microphone again, or like a joystick, like looking for openings. And so started to develop it further with the previous sketch. Wasn't liking where that one was going, but I liked the big character and I liked the radio guy. And then weaving it with these, to highlight each point was where, like, the stripe bursts come out of, and that was this element that tied it together. And then it became like, a nice full color illustration that was simple, but yet, there's not a lot of like detail in the work, but there is. So it's this very, um, like ambiguously detailed, complex, simple combo that can be like, almost created different spots of it. Like, so if this was for like a company for a website, and then they wanted to use the top left hand, like the credit card payment, for their credit card page, like we could like isolate that, and there's already the idea there, so we could like redraw it with that same idea, and also put that as part of the bid for the illustration and the whole project scope. um, and this is what I mean, like, by giving, um, clients like a lot to digest sometimes can make them want more of it. And so that's always beneficial for you. All right, this is the last part, and then we can take a break and all that. So, scaling your work, this is where we come down to what I started with, small images, bigger projects. Um, so if you're new to this kind of work, hopefully now you might have a better understanding of how to create a simple, strong image with enough room for opportunity to grow, like compositionally, and project wise, and like also enough room for you to grow artistically. And if you're already doing small spot illustrations, and your work focuses on one main idea character in your work, like a lot of stuff I do or something, um, then hopefully now you've learned like some tricks to open it up a bit more, and to create and to expand, to move beyond that one iconic simple image. Um, and so to me, scaling your work means telling multiple ideas in one illustration, and for, um, like one idea to be told on like a larger scale. Like, and that just comes all down to be like having strength in these images. Like, um, it can stand alone small, like what I was saying with the hip hop city image. That's an idea of scaling your work, like thinking about it small, but thinking about the big part as well. And also creating like another illustration like based on that thing. So if you're hired for like a couple spots, and then you're hired for like a web header, or, like a big trade show booth banner, but so far you've only done like their about me page website, illustration. um, trying taking that language and going from small, drawing it in that language small, and trying to draw in that language big, so that they are connected. Like that is having that scale is great, in your portfolio. And everybody should have scaled work, to show clients. You'll I guarantee you more opportunities will come your way, if they aren't, or, um, if they aren't after that, then, get your money back. I don't know. Just kidding. Um, so smaller work, what I mean by that is like few elements working together to tell one idea, like I was saying. And like I was saying, like this might be for a client's website. They want to draw into the customer service page, or maybe it's a small spot to accompany a magazine article. And it's usually used like for one time, if it's editorial or it's like almost icon work. A lot of times, or a lot that I've seen recently in like web design and user interface design is like maybe what, like 7 years ago, everybody was really into, maybe 10 years ago, it was like everybody was really into like icon design, and like icon design was cool, still is. But because the web was still new and cool and all these apps were new, but now like the technology has gotten great, and we can do so much on with these brands and telling stories on them that they've moved beyond just icons and they want illustration. And so making almost icon like work, um, but be illustrated, is like a lot of work that comes my way these days is in that realm. And so this is a project that I did with GoDaddy a couple of years ago, and they hit me up to do icons, or small illustrations, spots for their website, for their new branding. And it was all about different parts on their page. The top was more about like admin stuff. The middle was about like messaging, and also admin stuff like security, history, emails, things like that. And again, like working with the cliche, like um, to show cooperation. Sometimes a picture of a high five is like all you need. And and then but it's balanced in a way when you're asked to do like a set of illustrations. Not, each one doesn't have to be like a great, amazing, clever illustration. It can be simple because you balance it out with something else a bit more wacky or unique to you. And so another example is like that was for a website, and this was for beer cans. So a small illustration is now being used like on a website, and you're holding it in your hand while you're drinking a beer. Pretty cool. Um, and with the design of it, like they went for this cool, like very basic, very flat, bold look. And so there's like posters of these in New York, and it's very strong because it's just black and white, and it's so simple that it can work small and it can work big, um, because it kind of like smacks you in the face when you walk down the street. um, and then this is two examples of how working small can also be working big in a way. Like um, like you can just like this was when I hadn't quite yeah, I should start with that. Like this is when I didn't take my drawings for a drive yet, I guess you could say. I did these a couple of years ago when I was like, yeah, I love doing like the one clever little drawing. um and then like but enough of them together can create an interesting image. I mean, it's not like something that everybody can do, and I don't do much of this anymore, but it like these are two different projects that like kind of look the exact same, so I needed to like expand my portfolio a bit. I needed to expand how I draw and connect things, like because I was so used to just doing spot illustrations, I didn't quite know how to move beyond that. So I did what I did best at that time, was broke down little images, like little ideas, as one image. And on the left is for a movie poster for Focus Features, and I kind of made an icon based around all their movies. You have like Brick, Lost in Translation, Atonement, Hannah, the Pianist, Kabuki and the Two Strings. No, that was a wrong name. I forget what that one's called. Kubo and the Two Strings. Yeah. So, and then on the right was all about Cambridge, Massachusetts, for a Target mural. And so I just combined a lot of things from Cambridge together that I knew. So yeah, moving on. So next is medium-sized work. And this is, I think, is most important to bridge these ideas. Like if you're doing small work or if you're only doing large work, finding a medium size way to draw your expressions. Like is really good because there's a lot of use for them, and that's bringing two or three ideas together into a drawing. And this might be like for a company mission statement, is an advertisement campaign, like maybe it's on a product page to talk about like product benefits or something, um, or like a gift guide illustration or some kind of calendar where you're like, we want to talk about these three things, like, but we only have one drawing, one illustration or one fee for illustration for it. So having that, being able to adapt your work to work with a couple different narratives together is again very helpful. And so here are some ideas that I worked on with a web company about like creativity, and they do a lot of speaker symposiums, and it's like a resource for businesses. And so they were like, yeah, we have all these things together. So each one of these drawings like tells like three different parts of their programming. Like, I remember, I don't have the brief in front of me. On the right, bottom right was like, yeah, we film our live events, and there are these meetups. Like, we want to show that people meet each other, that it's filmed, and that there are speakers. And so you're like, okay, like that should be three illustrations, like maybe on the website it's like meet people, and there's a picture of people meeting, and then there's a picture of like we film all of our events, and then there's a picture of a film person. But like, you know, that's okay. Or you could try to combine them and tell them all at once, and then you can make a bigger illustration. It has more impact, um, and then it breaks up what a company can do when they hire you. Like they can hire you for the small illustrations, and they want one that stands out a little bit differently, so that it's what we call it a hero illustration of some sort. So yeah, being able to take a couple ideas together and make it one, like going back to like the hip hop city idea. We would need like one more thing from the client to like say like, what else could we talk about with this? Like, and then, maybe bringing in some other element, and then adding that to it. And then it becomes a bigger piece of work. Here's another one that I did for these book covers where I had to condense like vampire movies, all of Wes Anderson's career, and like all of New York movies together for these books. And you're like, well, you can't just pick one thing, um, like that represents a vampire movie. There's many different vampire movies. So kind of combining like this Nosferatu, old Dracula, kind of like Lost Boys, um, New York, and then bats and things. So it's kind of like this amalgamation of what vampires are. And where if it was just like the vampire, you'd be like, okay, well, what's interesting about that? And again, if that's what you want to do, spin the wheel style, figure out how to make it interesting. And then, yeah, here's another animated work that's like for New York Times, and they want to talk about sports and the stock market and like things in the city and currency. And I'm like, what? Like, because that's the New York Times. You open it up, and that's what you can read about. So combine these images together, just in a fun way, and then we animated them as well. Andrew Emery from Yellow Lab also animated this one. All right, larger work, as you would expect, breaking one narrative down into multiple themes or tying together 4 to 5 ideas, like compositionally. So examples are poster, magazine spread, web header, packaging. I mean, pretty much anything. Like mural, definitely mural is for these works. You'd be surprised at how often it's like, can you do the spots? Can you do like something for like this poster event we're having? Now you've entered into this company, like your individual world. Now they want to hire you for a mural for their office or something. Be very surprised with how much like longevity you can get with your work and a client's relationship if you have more to offer them. So yeah, on the left is a GoDaddy from that earlier project that I showed with the icons. they were like, yeah, and then we want to, when we announce the new brand launch, we want to give out this poster. And so they were like, we know you can do larger illustrations as well that can tie back to those icons that we did. Um, and on the right was also tying a lot of brands together. It was this event where they had all these brands, and they're like, yeah, yeah, we're having on them all together. They're going to be on the city street in New York, and it's going to be in Soho. It's like a block party, and all these brands are going to be there. So represent the brands in one poster. So this is very much like the hip hop event. I had these brands, and then I had Soho, and then I had like for Mr. Porter. So no, they're like cool and dapper people. Um, so then it's all right there in front of you, like, but you make it interesting. You find little openings and fun ideas, and you can make them work if you know how to balance them right. Yeah, it's a lot of fun that way. Like, and it's good to break out, like, because this also the one on the right was kind of the first one I did that expanded my work a bit more commercially, um, because I was asked to put all these things together, and I was like, you can see it's almost like, oh yeah, there's the idea for Fellow Barber, there's the idea for Saturdays, like there's the idea for the jean shop, um, but I'm like, okay, well, how do I combine these and make and weave them together into an illustration? Yeah, it's pretty cool to see that. Like, oh, okay, now I get it. I'm unveiling the layer a bit. Um, and this one was I did recently, bringing in a bit more color for a for the Royal Orchestra in Amsterdam, and they wanted to do a thing about American music. Cool. That's definitely not a broad topic at all. Just American music. Yeah, I can do that. Sure, is what I said to them. Um, and then so they're like, yeah, jazz, like hip hop, rock and roll, like all this stuff together, like very like country. How do I combine all that? Like, um, and because like I know how to combine things now, like figuring out breaking things down, maybe doing one, expanding upon that, not thinking about the whole image all at once, but like drawing one thing, going to the next, like bringing it around and working it, and then maybe that's your thumbnail, and you're like, okay, there's a lot of ideas on one page, how do I make it compositionally interesting? um, and balancing it with color and having like one central image, but then branching out around it. And that one central image of the people gathering the stars and the piano, we expanded that, and they wanted to use that more. They're like, we love that. Can we make another poster version with just those as well? And then what they hired me for was one illustration for a magazine spread. It was just that's why it's a box, which I know I said before, don't try to box yourself in, but that was for like we have one page, this is it, and I was like, okay, so I'm gonna take all sides, and then eventually they were like, we like this a lot, we see that we can use this, like it was be more work on my part to isolate and like erase things and take it apart, but they ended up using it for like the banners for the concert. Like it was just going to be like in the magazine, like when you get to the show. But now they wanted to make a big poster campaign. It's going to hang from the front of the opera house, and so they wanted to use more elements of it, which awesome. Like was more work on my end, more, but I got to add it to the invoice, which I did not think when I first started the project. And also, quick, I'll just show another one of this a situation where had to combine some things, and then they were like, we love them, we want to use more of them, and I'm like, I heard this before, and they want to take my elements out and put them on the website. And then we also, guess what, guys, we animated them. Yeah, we did. They want animation after all that. So sometimes the projects go on because they're just like, oh, and also can we animate, and also can we isolate, and that just doesn't happen with like one illustration sometimes. But you can see like the DNA is still there. Like they are broken up into like these one little things that found a way to connect. And like I don't know. Hopefully, like you're not you're not like, well, great, Chris, that works for you, but like my illustrations are different. Like, hopefully you can, see something that you can do with your work that can, bring you some more chances and opportunities to expand it. So, okay, can we draw? Take a break, go to the bathroom, do whatever. Yes. So yeah. Um, so I guess to wrap up with this, um, like I was saying, you want to get more leverage, you want to scale your work, um, and you want to give the clients, make them feel like they're in a candy store. Um, like when someone is thinking of you for a project right now, they're like, Jeffrey does, he draws giraffes really well. Jeffrey Giraffe, Toys R Us, callback. and and they're like, yeah, Jeffrey draws giraffes really really well, and so they come to you for that. But they go to your portfolio now, and they're like, Jeffrey just doesn't just draw giraffes. He draws all these other things, and he can draw like big giraffes, small giraffes. He can do everything, and so it's like a candy store. When they walk in, they're like, I'm here for the jelly beans, and then they see the dark chocolate, the rock candy, the peanut butter cups. They see like the gobstopper or whatever's, and they're like, well, you want to make them forget that like what they came in for. Like give them a reason to not shop for the one thing they thought they wanted. And that um, is what you need to keep in mind. Give them a reason to not shop for the one thing they thought they wanted. So yeah, how are we doing on time, Madeline? Is everybody cool? So yeah.
Yeah, all good. Thank you so much, Chris. This has been super informative so far. We all can't wait to start drawing.
Yeah, sorry, I went on a bit, but
Not at all. No, that was absolutely epic. Thank you for so much valuable insights and the detail of sharing your creative process. Loved it.
awesome. Yeah. So if you guys wanted to take a break, right? Or do we want to show like the brief maybe? Do a poll or something if we want I don't know, Q&A or whatever.
Yeah, I'd say maybe share the brief now so people know what they're getting into after the break. And then we'll break for a quick 10 minutes where we'll open the MSI lounge and then come back and dig into the brief and start creating after that. And then you can either do a few Q&As now or save them all for the end, whatever you want.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so the all right, we have it up there. Yeah. So yeah, we could do project A, project B. I just came up with these quick ideas for everybody as a very typical example of something like I might receive from a client. Um, hey, we're a new restaurant in your town or city. So if you want to do this one, picture it in your town, wherever you are in the world. And they're like, we're an earth-friendly cafe that promotes sustainability as a core value. We take, sourcing local, and we want to promote that. And we're connected to the neighborhood and local scene. This is like our coffee, our meats, and our delivery options, even like delivered by a bike courier. And they don't want to be crunchy. We're not like granola, like we're not that earth friendly. We're like cool, we're elevated earth friendly. So they want to be chic and refined. And they're looking for illustrations to add an element of like delight and to humanize the brand a bit more, give it a bit more depth. So they're like, we want 2 illustrations for our menu. Again, like I said, they don't give you sizes. They're just like, well, we're going to use them somewhere, sprinkle them in. So it's up to you if you want to draw them like icons, or you want to draw them like give them a bit more of a scenario. And then they want 1 medium-sized illustration to be used on their delivery bags, like they'll be stamped on there, and so the bike courier will deliver them. This is like very typical of what I might get for a project. And so you're like, okay, like got to think about um, the menu part, which is just combining food, combining the city. Like you could do two, like one's drinks, one's food, and you're combining a sustainability part to it, and like a lifestyle. And then the medium sized one, maybe it's more about like showing the neighborhood, showing like the bike messenger, communicating that to someone who like sees this on the street, or you know receives it from they ordered it on Uber Eats, and I don't know if they ordered on Uber Eats and a bike shows up, but that'd be weird. Um, but yeah, so if they see it, they go, "Oh wow, cool," and they learn a bit more about the brand through that illustration. So there's that one, Project A, or we could do Project B, which is a music subscription service I created that I think probably would exist. Um, and their new online service that has vinyl record monthly subscription, and they'll send you 3 new records your way by mail. It's like one of those like Birchbox things, but it's vinyl, and you play them, keep the ones you want, and you send back the other two. It's like Stitch Fix for your ears. Um, and so you're like a web based. So you make a profile, fill out some questionnaires, so they understand your tastes, and then every month you get new music to check out. So about them, they want to promote and help young musicians and artists. Um, it's for people that like want to know about vinyl. They understand it. They're like, yeah, MP3s aren't doing it for me. I want to make music and experience again. So they want 2 to 3 drawings for their user interface, for their questionnaires. So they need to be a bit educational at the same time for the user. Like, so they want to be fun, but they're also these prompts with questions. So they kind of go along with the questions. Whereas Project A, the small illustrations, they're just generalized, like food and stuff. This one's more about it follows text. So you want to keep in mind, does this work with the text next to it, or does it not? And then they might want an illustration to go on the packaging. Like they're going to have a box, like a record size, like 12 by 12. And when the user gets that in the mail, they want to be like, this is awesome, it came in. So they want like a cool illustration on it. Sounds like a lot. You guys don't feel pressure. You have to like do, all of this. Do what, we're going to try to do what we can. Um, just to get some ideas down. Yeah, there it is. Vinyl Me Please. It exists, of course. I need to Google things before I write them down. Yeah. So, but this company's different because their user interface and their algorithm is, what makes them stand out. That's what they would say, probably. um, yeah. So, we're just trying to get, again, like if this was given to me, I'm not making a masterpiece today. No, no way. I'm just getting down ideas. I'm just exploring the illustration language, like the visual, like language that I want this brand to have. So don't feel pressure that you're like, I gotta have a colored in full, beautiful Sistine Chapel right now. Like we're all having fun and just getting ideas out. And if you do draw that, that's awesome. Cool. So yeah, like take a screenshot of this if you need, or um, I can go back to the other one if you want to take a screenshot as well, just to have, because I don't quite know how we can keep these up at the same time.
Totally. I'd say take a screenshot of this and then we'll leave the other one up on stage while we're having a break. Or we could switch between them while we're having a break.
Cool.
Yeah, I'd suggest take a screenshot. Cool. Thank you so much. I think that's a perfect time to take a break while you guys are brainstorming and sort of ideating and drawing out some sketches and ideas that you have. Also, feel free to hop into the MSI Lounge, which I'm going to open in just a second. So, as you guys know, MSI are our sponsors, why we're getting this amazing workshop for free.
Yeah.
If you've got any questions for any MSI employee, like what the best laptop or computer to get from them is, if you're a gamer, if you're a content creator, if you're an illustrator, they service all types of people. And hop over to the MSI Lounge if you want to chat to them and have some questions. If not, we will see you back here in 10 minutes, and then we're going to hop into doing some interactive designing alongside Chris. Chris might actually have the opportunity to review some of your work, and you could maybe share some of your work with Chris as well. So super exciting stuff coming. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Thanks so much. Hope you guys enjoyed that and gave you a bit of brain food. Yeah. And like I said, like, it's not much about like how I use programs or whatnot. So I don't have a lot of like, not like a technical illustrator in that regard. So hopefully I gave you a bit more insight to help you understand projects and to expand your portfolio a bit more, um, and like go beyond what you've been hired to do or what you're currently being hired for. Yeah. Should we keep this up or? Yeah. So welcome back if you went away. Hello again if you stayed. Um, so yeah, hope you guys are having a good time with this. Like I said, like you can do the exercise like in a couple of days or whatever your free time. If you're can't do it right now, this video will be up, and maybe we can do some Q&A. Like if you guys are sketching right now, I can answer some questions while you're drawing, or if you're not drawing and you're just like, yeah man, I'll do that assignment later, let me just ask you some stuff. I can do that. That's usually what I do. If I did one of these things, I'd be like, I'm just kind of here for the person. um, so yeah. Someone asked if I beat Elden Ring yet. I have not beat Elden Ring. I started just a couple days ago, but I'm freaking loving it. And yeah, the circles under my eyes may indicate too many late nights when I should have gone to bed. But yeah, it's very cool to be an adult and a dad and play video games still. So yeah. All right, going to the Q&A. Yes. So Aubrey Swanson asked, what's your process like between hand sketching and digitizing the drawings? It can be one and the same. Like sometimes, like I use a Wacom tablet a lot, and so that has been like a game changer for drawing my sketches right on the screen. And then um, I sometimes either like will do the final line drawing in Photoshop, and then or in Illustrator. It's been kind of a back and forth. Like you'll see my work sometimes it's like looser, and that's because I actually drew with pencil. Um, like I, have a desk that I draw on, and I'll scan the drawings in or take photos with my phone and just up the contrast. And sometimes I will take that and put it into Illustrator, like a nice high contrast, like pen drawing, and then up the contrast, vectorize it, screw around with the settings a bit. Sometimes I blur, add what's it called, like a ripple effect, sometimes, and it recreates that hand drawing look, but now it's vector, and then the client can make it like any size they want, and it won't lose, um, you know, resolution. They can make it smaller, they can make it big, and that also has been very beneficial. Of like that, and that kind of came about like making my drawings in my notebook, and I was like, they don't have the same effect when I do it on the computer. Like, how do I translate them? And it's not like image trace. Like sometimes can screw it up, but there are some ways that you can make the image trace your friend and not totally screw up your drawings. They can still look hand drawn. Um, and when they're like shrunken down or something, like sometimes you don't need that texture and or like that integrity of like this is the hand drawing. It's like you can kind of vectorize your hand drawing, and if it's going to be small, it works still. But yeah, it's very one the same. Sometimes it's hand sketching, and then computer, and then sometimes it's like it's all computer. Like I did a project last week. The line work was all in Illustrator. I did a project finish up yesterday. I did all the final line work in Photoshop. Um, but like I'm working on a project right now, and I'm just hand doodling a lot of the stuff right now. So like I don't know. It's like I said, like sometimes my work takes on a different voice. Sometimes because of like what I'm drawing, or how I'm drawing. Um, like when I draw on the computer, sometimes it could be more smooth, and sometimes when I draw by hand, it's a bit more rough and loose and tighter. Um, so yeah, hope that gives you some insight, makes some sense. The other question is, by Marcel Rodzinger-Dam. How would you present your work to get your first clients in and start doing illustrations as a side hustle? I'll tell you how. The fake it till you make it thing comes into play here. I did work for one of my like first editorial works where I was like, I could tell my parents, that I draw for a living, and they go, what do you mean? And I go, because I just did something for the New York Times, and like, oh, okay, I get that, yeah, New York Times, and that's because read an article and I drew a picture about that article and like I put it on my Tumblr. Like it was just like I wanted to break into that, and so I just did the thing if as if I was given that assignment. And that is a great way to showcase things in your portfolio that you want to be hired for. A lot of times, like clients don't know what to hire you for if they don't see it themselves. Sometimes they're very unimaginative, and that's why no offense if you're clients out there, but sometimes like they want to hire what they see, and that's why going back to like having that scale of work in your portfolio will um, have clients like see like that you can do more and that they can hire you for stuff. Like they'll find one thing that they want within your portfolio. So yeah, draw something that you want to be hired for. I used to do like posters, like making posters for a band that I was like, maybe this band will hire me. Like, they never did, but it explored my illustration style. And then I did music related things for other artists, but like, that band never hired me, but like another band did. um, so yeah, that's honestly how it started. And then posting like your personal illustration next to that fake illustration you do for the New York Times. Right now, like my dream is I think I can show you guys. Um, as any illustrator would, like they're like, oh, I have this dream. Like I want to do the cover of the New Yorker. New Yorker like probably would pay me like $1,200 for the cover or something. Like, they'll want it in like 3 days. It would be very stressful. Um, you know, would it be worth my time? Maybe but it's a dream that I love, that would love to see happen. So I don't do a lot of magazine covers, so they're not going to hire me. So like I'm a freelancer illustrator, like work for myself, and I'm still doing this kind of thing. I'm trying to find on my files. So um, where is it? I want to show you guys something. Dang, I don't know how to do it. So all right, I'll keep looking for this, but I'll go on to the next question. So Rachel Cifarelli asks, Cifarelli? I don't know, Italian. Um, how much research do you do before starting a project, and what kind of research might you do? Um, like I said, if I get a project, I read the brief. Sometimes the client will have a list of things or examples of my work from the past. Like, this is kind of the realm we're envisioning. And like, these are the things that we want to communicate. And so if I don't know those things, I'll Google image, what is that? Like, maybe like what's been done before. Like, um, if I have an idea, I'm like, oh, I'll Google something to make sure I'm not like just like redoing the same thing someone else has done. But other than that, like it's really just drawing the thing that they're asking for. Um, like I said, like it's what it looks like. It looks like. So sometimes I don't draw like exactly. Like I'm doing something right now with like Washington D.C. and like I've like yet to Google Washington D.C. buildings because like they're in my head, and just that having that vague idea of them like can unlock some things rather than like knowing exactly how they look sometimes. So like I'm not even googling those buildings. um Yeah, so it's like I don't do a lot of research these days, but it's something I don't know anything about. Um, then I will. But yeah, it's mostly just sketching because, like I said, like it's a visual universal language we're trying to attract with like trying to get people to understand it. So we have to use language that we all get. Um, all right, so hopefully that makes sense. Um, Mateusz Naparalski says, your work is very commercial and can be applied to many different scenarios. At the same time, each piece feels like a slice of your personal universe. Do you have any advice on unearthing that unique voice from within? Um, yeah, I mean, that comes with constantly making. Sometimes I feel like my things don't connect. It's always funny the other person's perspective, you know. Um, like I've been doing like these watercolor drawings recently, and I'm like, this does not. Does this look like my work? I don't know. Like, but I think the larger view, like it does. It does all tie back together. But the with the style, like the unique voice, like you can see some of my work where the ideas are there, and that's like the the main part. Like there's some where I'm drawing like hands really big, but like big hands aren't my trademark, you know, like little bodies and big hands. But like sometimes I do put that in there just because it makes for an interesting image or um, you know, it kind of gives a sense of perspective, even though I draw kind of flat. Um, so like to me, I'm like, oh, that looks um, different than my other drawing, but if you look at them, like the ideas are the same. The ideas kind of carry through. There's always something a bit fun and playing with shape and form. And to me, that I think helps them tie all together. So I don't know, like unearthing the voice is like the Sisyphean effort of an artist, like of an illustrator. You know, like you think you get there, and then like it falls, the rock falls back, and you got to push it back up the hill again. You're like, oh, maybe that's not my voice. Like, but like then you look back and go, you just rolled the ball over all these hills, and like that is your voice. Like you, no matter what you're doing, it is your voice. It may not feel like it, but it is. So yeah, it's a tough question to answer. But I would just say like to try not to think that like style is the answer, and just how your approach is the unique voice, like is the answer. Um, yeah. Um, um, Marcel Rosinger Dom asks, how do you figure out the appropriate price for an illustration you're asked to do? There are some industry standards for some a lot of work. Um, these days it fluctuates because um, they're like at first editorial was great, and the editorial is a little bit lower now, and web is more because it's wider used. If it's for a one-time stuff, like it's going to be used for one issue of something, or it's going to be used for like one campaign, depending on like the size and the amount of visibility it will have, and also the client. Like if you kind of got to put that in perspective, like you can't have the same price for every client. Like if it's the same job, like I can do one small spot illustration for the New York Times, like I was saying, like for $200. But if um, like water bottle company, Big Water wanted to use like an illustration that same size and put it on their water bottle, that will be sold in all these stores across the world, and like it's a main point of selling because it's basically like an advertisement. It's like a packaging, but it's the same amount of work and like the same amount of effort. like they, I could charge like 15 grand for that, like, because, of like what it is. Like, I wouldn't charge 15 grand, a little bit lower, but that'd be a lot for it, one small illustration. But, like it would be like from 200 to like, $2,000, like, which is a huge jump, for the same amount of work. But it's factoring in all, um, like the usage rights, like the amount of visibility it has. Where the newspaper is one time use, throw it away, it's gone the next day. Water bottle sticks around on the shelves. It's like a part of selling the product. So you have a bit more leverage to ask for more money. Um, and yeah, but yeah, it is always, a battle with pricing, trying to figure out like where the line is. Like I work with my agent a lot. They are all wonderful, and, no job is ever the same. Like, um, same job, like I was saying, like if I do a big illustration, I'm like, oh, I just did that for this much last month, and now this company wants the same thing, but they're only offering like $1,000 for it, or the other company offered me like $100,000. It will say, um, but you're like, but this company is really cool. I want to do it for them. And do it. Like, sometimes you lose a bit, but if like that's a joy about illustration, is that like you get, if it makes you excited, like that's your career. Like you want to keep drawing, you want to draw for your career, you want to draw for companies that you like, so that other companies you like will hire you. So like, if you can take a hit, to do that project, then do it. Um, so then you're kind of like, the next company hits you up for the same thing, and you're like, oh, they only charged me $200 for that, but I'm going to charge you 2K or something. Like, so it's a weird thing, with pricing. Yeah, I don't have a we have some range, but we fluctuate with, with how much we price it. So I know a roundabout way of answering, but hopefully that makes some sense. Yuko S asks, can we have Chris's notes after the event? No, just kidding. Yeah. If you, I was just talking with Madeline about this, because I know my presentation didn't have like notes really. It was more like just titles and some pictures. But I do have some speaker notes like that I wrote to go along, remind me of what each slide is, like in the points. So I can put that together or add that if you guys want, like a transcript almost to kind of follow along. We can send those out, right, Madeline? We can like add those. Yeah. I thought that question said, "Can we have Chris's keyboard after the event?" And I was like, I mean, I guess I'll mail it to you. Like, um, so Beto Lopez asks, how's your methodology and learning curve of going from vector to analog to monoline to digital coloring? Um, let me parse that. How's your methodology learning curve going from vector to analog to monoline to digital? Um, I mean, it's, I guess I can't quite understand the question. Like, how I've found that rhythm of like not always doing the same thing. Like, if I draw, how can I get that drawing on the paper that be like kind of the same vibe on the computer, or vice versa? Um, it took me a little bit to find the voice. It was a lot of just experimenting of, like I never liked how I drew on the computer versus how I drew on my sketchbook. I was like, my sketchbooks, like they have a different feel, and then when I draw on a computer, it loses a bit of its life. Um, and then it just, like, so trying to find that was just a bit of the experimentation, and then saying like, well, maybe that's just for my drawings, and maybe I'll work differently on the computer, and my computer drawings will be like a different style. But I didn't like that, because when I went to go draw like on my paper, like you know I was like, well, now they're seeing two different voices. So trying to hybridize that maybe is what you're asking. um, was just trying to find like working the program to find how I drew best, and it was started off with like drawing simpler and keeping it line work and maybe not doing, you know, coloring because like I could never get like a digital pencil to like look like my real pencil shading. Um, I'm like a lot of like illustrators I love nowadays are like really epic digital artists, and I'm like, I don't do anything like that, but like those are the people I admire so much now, um, which is kind of funny because you would not think that in my work, but I'm always like, how do they make it look so painterly on the computer? I cannot do that. Um, but I would like to add a bit more painterly vibe to like my line work, which could be really cool. I mean, yeah, have that drawing, hop in the car, and go down to painterly world. Um, so yeah, I don't know if that answers your question really, but yeah. Um, Cherish Henson asks, "Do you have a tip you would give yourself back when you were first starting out?" Um, I would say, yeah, like I mean, everyone kind of says this, but like, don't take yourself too seriously. Have fun, like don't try to have your voice like immediately. Um, come out on the scene like I have to like I don't want to put up my portfolio now because it's not all the same. Like it looks too scattered, and I don't have enough projects yet, or like I was worried about that. Like, oh, like do all these look right? Like, do I have a voice here? But just putting stuff out there and like showing progress, showing like development is really helpful to people, seeing your work, and it's good to see your work out there as well. Um, and so not trying to think about that too much, and just putting work out there that you want to do. If you're drawing it and you like it, put it on your portfolio, show it, and yeah, and don't worry about like, oh, like, is this gonna you know not get me that job I want, or is this the work I want to be hired for? Like, this is the work I want to do. Just like start doing it, and eventually like the ball will start rolling, and then you will figure out, okay, like seeing your own path is really good. So as much as I'm saying like show the drawings you want to get hired for, but also show a bunch of drawings you don't want to get hired for. um, like I think seeing your work helps you figure out where you want to go. So don't be like, it's not ready to show people yet. Just put it out there, and don't be afraid of like, am I an illustrator? Is this what I want to do? So yeah, and then meet people is a really great thing. Just like people in our industry, they want to know more people. We have if you don't work in an office, like you have a very private, lonely, isolated, tired, scared, depressing. Just kidding. Life, So we're in our rooms all day, um, and so other people want to interact. They want to make a community, and I was always scared of like, oh, like I don't want to message that designer I love. Like, he's going to laugh at my work. Like, he's too cool. They're too cool. You know, I love her work. Like, how she'll never look at my stuff. But they will. We're all like designers, illustrators, like are nice people, and we like to illustrate and talk about our work with people. So if that was one thing I regret, is like not reaching out to designers I loved earlier, and then just letting them know like what they mean to me, or asking them for advice, because you have nothing to lose, and you don't look like a fool for doing it or anything. So um, if you're like self-conscious or anything, don't feel bad. It's you'll feel better if you reach out to them, and then if you see them at an event or something, be like, hey, oh, you're that guy, yeah, yeah. And it creates a community, and then your worlds get smaller, and then opportunities come. They might hit you up for something later. So yeah, like I was for my animator that I work with, Andrew. I found him on Twitter. Like never did this like before. I was never like, does anyone have recommendations for this, or like how do I do this? I was always like scared of like I'll look like I don't know what I'm doing. Um, so if you're like me, like so, I one day I was like, I need an animator. Like someone will see this tweet, and I said like I need an animator for this, and then someone recommended me to Andrew, and then that's how we met, and we've like been doing animation projects for like the past like 5 years. It's been awesome. um, so yeah, which MSI computer model would you recommend? I found the options overwhelming. Um, I'm using the is it the Z17 Creator Series? It's I'm loving that right now. It's really really good. It got a nice big screen. It's bigger than I had like a MacBook Pro. It's bigger than that, faster than it, and I can touch on the screen too, like boop, boop, boop. So I can click and drag files over, and then I can just like close up shop. Um, I can swipe to go to my next desktop and draw right on the computer if I want. So I think right now there's like the Z16, but I'm using the Z17, so I can recommend that one. But the guys over in the MSI chat will definitely help you find like what you need it for. Um, if you want to, if you're doing like video work more, or if you're doing like UX design more, or if you're doing illustration, like what different models will be good for you. So they can help you over there, right? Right? I mean, was there a chat, Madeline, that they?
Hey, so the chat's just finished, but you
Okay,
could ping Jordan in the chat, in the like written chat, if you've got any questions, and he'll be able to answer them for you.
cool. Yeah. Um. Yeah. Cool. Cool. Oh yeah. So all right, we got some critique. I saw some images come up. I'm going back to the real the public. Cool. Okay. I'm gonna take a look at these, and yeah, if anybody wants to like come on and like talk, right, Madeline, we can do like if you want to come on stage and be like, what do you think about this? So yeah, if anyone wants to, I think you just raise your hand um, digitally. No one's going to see you if you raise your hand in your room, but
Yeah, if you want to come on stage, ask Chris a question face to face with your microphone on or camera on, or if you want to come on stage to share your work and get some feedback, raise your hand in the question and answer panel of the chat, and then we'll see you and invite you into the stage. So don't be shy.
I'm seeing Kimberly Kennedy's sketch. Oh, I like the hamburger wheel idea. That is cool. Is that a hot dog on a giant or on a little bicycle, like a whale or something? But yeah, that's awesome. I liking the shapes, nice and simple, with the road, and you got some lips in there. I think some kind of mimics like the cloud look. Yeah, so that's going to be like for the stamp on the to go bag. I like that. Um, yeah. I'm looking at. Oh, I saw another link um, to Dribble, the Aubrey Swanson's. That is a good sketch. Yeah. I don't know if this was like for the project or someone was just posting it. Yeah. I just see John Larigakis. Um, cool. Oh, I like that. This must be like maybe it's for the menu. I could see it being on using the bottom, or like somewhere in the middle of the menu, or maybe this is the bag. But I like the pulling of the sandwich, very nice. Um, the building coffee, very cool. This is all like super fun. I might like contain it a bit more. Like find I think because like the objects are like they're a bit too disconnected at the moment. Um, so bring it together like is maybe instead of the um the coffee cup like being in the center building like it's the cafe. Um, so you kind of focus on that and maybe there's like a bit more buildings around it, so that your eye kind of goes to that because um, I wasn't sure like what I was quite looking at. Like if you want to highlight the cafes, they might want that more. But I like the thinking of like the food playing in the neighborhood. I think maybe you might need more of a neighborhood to kind of give off that vibe. Like instead like they're all like working together maybe other than like one building, and that might give it a bit more of a neighborhood vibe. Um, but yeah, this awesome start with this really cool thinking, and that's definitely on the right track. Yeah. I'm gonna check out Andrea Marie Tempea's um, sketch for the vinyl project. I'm assuming I like that. That is awesome for good like abstract read on like to be on like a website where it's like, what music are you into? I instantly get that it's you love this record and like you're not sure about these ones, like or you're choosing like so that is it's not specific, it's not like rock jazz like but you're using like this visual element to show difference, and show one thing over the other, which is very cool when you don't have a lot of room to say a lot. So that is great. I might maybe you don't need the vinyl swirl with the hands. Like it could be like a person just sort of like doing that, or maybe it's like something that like else looks like the vinyl record because I think it has a bit more typhoon look, and that could be cool. Maybe just go for just like swirl. Um, and if people see a vinyl record, then they see it. If not, that's fine too. But it could look a bit tornado-y. But I like the thinking. That's a really good start to that. Bye, Kimberly. Glad I'm checking out the chat. um, cool, yeah. So if anyone wants to keep going, all right, we got some from. I want to check out Anne Balancas. Nice. That is what my sketchbook looks like. Um, yeah, I love the mailbox idea. I didn't even think about that when I was like also kind of brainstorming a little bit. That is cool. So we got the mailbox. We got a little courier for the um, for the vinyl. I'm wait. Can you guys see that when I pull it up or no? I'm just kind of talking, and so I'm looking at things in the chat. I'm sorry if like it might be confusing. There's some images in the chat, and I'm pulling them up, and I don't know how to share, but that screen.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you were pulling them into your screen, feel free to share your screen that you're looking at. At the moment, we're seeing what I'm seeing is still the brief screen. So if there's a way to share the screen that you're looking at with the images, then that would be cool as well.
Yeah, I'm kind of just on the chat window, and I'm just sort of zooming in. When you click on the image, it brings it up big, so I can maybe do that. Present. but just make it this window. But we might get like an infinity effect. Um, but yeah, so can you see this? Oh, there it is. Can you see that? So yeah, okay, yeah, you can see that. I can't see if you can see that because it's blocking my screen. uh, but yeah, I like this good start with combining mail and vinyl. Like that's like exactly where you should be. Like these are awesome for on the website when they want to get a quick hit of like what is this? Okay, vinyl, mail, boom, you got it. Maybe there's a bit more like depth to it. Maybe there's a bit more narrative. Um, it's for like music lovers and like these audio files in a way. So maybe you get like a person in there um, and start to build on it. But like where you're working with the shapes, like working with the speakers, what do they look like? I love the mailbox note. Like, boom, you found it. Like that's why we draw these things. Like you drew a mailbox and you're like, oh wait, I see. Okay, and then you keep going. That's exactly where you want to be at. So yeah, keep going down that route. Awesome start. All right, woo, nice tortillas and salsa. It's friendly neighborhood vibe. This could be for the organic restaurant. I'm assuming. Um, it's definitely Mexican themed in your neighborhood. So I like that. It's like a community pool or something, or um, working with the shapes of the tortillas could be nice. Like make them some mountains or make them maybe they're like the patterns on a dress or something, and the neighborhood people are dancing. Um, tying it back to that somehow. But I like that. Yeah. So, oh, cool. Okay. We've got we've got Kia Kuru's nice little mailbox vinyl record image. I like that perspective in the shadow. That's a cool style for it. Like, like you're working with typography and imagery at the same time, which can be very cool for the vibe like of this brand. Um, for the packaging, I can see this incorporating a lot more. You already have nice strong blacks and lines together. So I like that idea. I think maybe like the record in the mailbox, like it's a bit weird. It's a bit bullseye at the moment. I think there's a way to make it a bit more seamless, but um, is there like a hand putting it in there or pulling it out? Is the flap up, or um, is the mailbox an amplifier? Is that instead of vinyl, is it you open up the mailbox and it's like a speaker and it's like pumping out, or is things like that. So, but you got like you're working with the shapes, which is awesome, and trying to find the openings in the visual language, and that's a great start. Check out Veronica Fernandez. Um, nice, nice. Yeah, you're finding those connections. You're like using the lines on the vinyl. Um, Very cool. I think you're getting somewhere with the message mark or like the kind of like speech bubble with the musical clef. And I really like the graphic iteration of the needle and the lines on the record right below it. That has a cool feel. Um, I can see that starting to develop. Is that like, is it a sun behind it and like rays, and then like are the lines like part of a house? Showing that like the music comes to your house. You don't go to the record store; it comes to you. Maybe incorporating that into it a bit more. Um, to show like if someone's like, what is this process? Like when you're on the website, about us, or like, vinyl, like what is it? And then one of these would be good for that. Yeah. I'll go back to Q&A real quick. Um, Hopefully that is making some sense to you guys. So yeah. Okay. Yeah, I was let me I can show you guys something cool on the MSI. If I do, where is it? Oh no, I have to put it. Watch this. Put that over there. Okay, sorry. Now I can do it. Yeah, yeah. I started to quickly draw just some. Can you guys see this? All right, can you see it? Okay, cool. Yeah. Um, this is my crude also. So yeah, I draw terribly as well. Um, but yeah, this is I just started to draw with the actual pen, like right on the laptop, which is awesome. So I was like, okay, a vinyl. I just drew, the circle and made him a face. I was like, what if there's a vinyl head mascot guy and we go down that route? Like that's always fun. Give them something a bit different. Like, you could definitely make a mascot if even if the client didn't ask for it. Like, hey, what about this? And he's got headphones on. He's like a little Cyclops dude, and he loves vinyl. And he's like, maybe he's like the vinyl muncher. He's the crate digger, as they call them. Yeah. And then I was like, okay, I just started to draw like a profile, like for the question of, are you new to vinyl or are you experienced? Just to draw like a guy like going through the vinyl store on the right, and then below him like a person who like just got their vinyl record. And again, like there's no idea here. It's just drawing the thing, just drawing it out, and then trying to find a different story or maybe how I can combine them. And what I wanted to start was like maybe, oh, that guy stayed there. um, what else I do? Oh yeah, dude. And then I was like, I went to the quick, like, oh, like what if it's like for what kind of music are you into? Maybe there's a scenario as a guy laying on his bed and he's got all these posters on his wall. But it's like, no, that's too detailed. It's like that won't be a quick read. Um, and so I started to draw like maybe a guy just he's just looking at two things of vinyl, like two records, like what he's into, just to sort of show the service. Do I like this? Where this is going? Is there vinyl behind him? I don't want to make it too detailed, but maybe there's like, or just some, maybe this is like a country person and they're like, just a big hat. So I'm just drawing right on the screen right now. And then maybe he's looking at also like like rock and roll. So we'll do um, we could do like a fun almost like a reference like, oh, it's like Led Zeppelin 2, and then like the Hindenburg crash, like for those who would get it, they'd be like, oh, cool, but then the client might come back and say, oh, we can't reference that, like take that away. um, but then I started, was like, oh, like I like this idea of like maybe like a dial of like showing like what kind of music are you into, um, and using the musical language that we kind of are familiar with, even though it might not be like a radio, but there is a tuner on a receiver for a vinyl record if you have one. And so maybe it's like this is a person and that's their, and it's like, what kind of music are you into? And he's pointing to, um, a station or something, or like rap. But yeah, it's not, that was a terrible hand. Oh my God. Yeah, that's his nose. But yeah, you get the idea of like, okay, like one is like really literal, like what are you into, comparing to records, and this one's like a bit more conceptual, but a bit too far conceptual. Lost like the point a bit more. So I guys kind of keep going. Like, what are you into, or what kind of vinyl person are you? Um, maybe it's showing the two sides. Like if you're at like a record store and you're like, oh, what are you into? And this guy is like full on. He loves going through the crates of vinyl. Um, or and then like this person is kind of new. They're like I don't know yet. Or maybe he's like got like, yeah, I'll do this. He's got like a bunch of different vinyl records like already he's taken. He's like, I got this and this one. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Got to find more. And then she is new to it and is like a little, you know, has some trepidation of like, which one do I get? So then, you could see this drawing being, and again, these are very crude just to get the idea, just to see like, maybe if there is something more we could do with the shape, with the form of it. Um, can definitely make this guy's head smaller. Um, show transform controls. Show them. Not that small. Yeah. So let me. What was I going to say? Oh yeah. So I would like copy that. Then I would. Oh, I'm not gonna get there. Why is that guy copying? Um, That little dude's gonna haunt my nightmares. Um, so yeah, you can see this on the website, and it could be like, um, yeah, new to vinyl. Like this might be like, oh, it's too detailed for the client, like, and then they'll tell you all about it. Kind of just imagining like how it will be used. If I started to draw like more like an actual store around them, and there's like more people in the background like going through stuff. It might get it's getting too far away from the narrative. Like there's a lot of extraneous details. Um, and then you just need the two people, so you're focusing on this person or that person, like new or experienced. But yeah, and then yeah, what was the other ones? What was in my brief? Yeah. What's your setup? Yeah. So I would do like a setup of this is a question prompt, so it's like you're not looking for like, oh yeah, this is gonna be like my best illustration ever. It's like, what's your setup? Like, what do you have? It's not doing a lot of heavy lifting. So keeping that in mind when you're doing illustrations like these, um, knowing when to be like go full you, and that could be the for the packaging, and then when to be more educational and like pull back on the reins. Um, so maybe it's like you do like speakers. But so it's asking a question too, and that's always fun. It's like maybe it's something like this. It's like, what's your setup? You show like the record stand and then the turntable. And there's like the cover of the turntable. I might make that a bit more apparent, yeah. And then you show some records, kind of stacked. But I like that idea. And like I said, like, is a question mark a cliche? Maybe, but like it it gets the point across like really quickly, and doing it and putting it in a way that you don't normally see a question mark, like as the base for the speaker. It's kind of cool. I like that. I might work with the composition a bit, um, but yeah, and like I said, like look at my artboard. Like I'm just drawing this thing super small, but just because I'm focusing on those shapes and that simplicity of the message, so that when you do see it from far away, you notice those question marks. You go, okay, this is an illustration that's asking something. Um, or it's maybe you go down the question mark rabbit hole and you keep doing stuff like that, and then or oh wait no, I like what if it's do the vinyl and then does this work? Just trying it like does maybe having the needle like work with the vinyl record, like nah, it gets too complicated, like try and make it into a question mark, but don't force it. Um, but yeah, so and then from there, you're just so yeah, I drew that right on the laptop. So yeah, I'll take a look at some more posts. I see Lisa H's. Oh, I love that. Nice. That I automatically get this company is about healthy things, and they deliver them on a bike. Like perfect. Like it says it. It's interesting. I like the colors. Um, it looks like you're in like a tropical area, probably. Or so it's in your neighborhood. It's very fun. Yeah, I can see that being on like the website, or like it becomes like a subway ad, and this guy's on the left, and maybe like he's trailing through, and it goes across three billboards, or three posters in the subway. Um, yeah. If anyone else sees that, I didn't share my screen on that one, so sorry. But I was looking at it. It's pretty recent in the chat. And then yeah. Wait, are you muted?
How embarrassing. I was just saying, I know that we're at the top of the hour.
Oh
I
yeah,
think this would be a good time to wrap up. We've done a lot of Q&A, we've done a lot of designing, you've done a lot of feedback and sharing your creative process. How do you feel about that?
good. Yeah. I hope people learned a little bit more about the process and how to approach illustration in a different way. But yeah, hope you guys liked my little drawing session. But yeah, but so it's very simple. It doesn't have to be too complex. But yeah,
Yeah, that was so cool to see you draw live, to see how your mind worked and where you went with your illustrations. So thank you so, so much. This has been really incredible and really engaging. I know from the chat that everyone has loved it as well. A big thank you to you, Chris, and also a massive thank you to the students who came and gave their time and designed alongside you. I really hope that this was inspiring for you and that you learn a lot and are leaving with a head full of inspiration to take to your design careers.
yeah,
I wanted to give one last shout out to our amazing sponsors, MSI, and their new laptop that they've just come out with. I'm going to link it in the chat again. So it's the world's first 17-inch pen touch laptop. So check it out if you want to. Thank you to those guys.
yeah.
Um,
It's
and
pretty
yeah,
dope.
thanks.
I like it a lot. As a longtime Mac user, I'm like, see you later.
See you later, Mac.
Yeah.
Awesome. Um, cool. I'm just going
Yeah.
to do some final housekeeping stuff. But
If I jump in real quick, maybe if I know there's a couple questions I'm seeing about like pricing and things like that, and animation, and a couple of things that I didn't get to. If I didn't answer your question, like feel free to like message me on Instagram, or email me at DeLorenzo@hey.com, and hopefully if I can get to your question. Um, they will tell you my agent will tell you I'm terrible with emails. So if I don't respond ASAP, like give me some time. I have a 1.5-year-old.
you're a busy guy. That's so generous of you, Chris. Thank you so much for opening up your
Yeah,
inbox and suggesting that you would answer follow-up questions. Um, that's epic.
yeah. Like I'll answer anything. Like how long did it take you to complete lab series? Um, it was like 4 months, 4-month project or something. Like if I don't answer, I'm like, just shoot me a message. Like no question too small.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yes, we will type Chris's email in the chat. That is so, so kind. Cool. Well, thank you so much, and I hope I get to work with you again. This has been really lovely. Thanks for all the
Yeah.
preparation, hard work you did with this workshop, and we will see you soon, Chris.
Yeah. Thanks, guys, so much. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. I just wanted to wrap up a couple of housekeeping stuffs. So I'm going to be sending an email after this to everyone who's come to this workshop. It will have the recording. So if you want to rewatch anything, if you want to go back on your notes and see anything, recap anything that Chris taught you today, then you could do so. Watch out for that email. That's going to come by the end of the day today. Chris has also been so kind and generous to say that he is going to share the slides that he put together for this workshop as well. Those will come later in the week because I know Chris is editing them a bit. So watch out for that follow-up email with Chris's slides. Those are the two things that you should keep an eye out for in your inbox in terms of going forward. I wanted to shout out our product design course that we're running. So I know a lot of you are designers and illustrators or graphic designers. If you wanted to take the switch into product design, we're running a 12-week introductory product design course. So reach out to me if you want more details. We've just opened registration with a 40% discount. So that might be interesting for some of you. But if not, we run these one-off workshops every couple of weeks. A lot of them are free, so keep an eye out on Dribble to come to these free interactive workshops with industry leaders like Chris. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you, MSI, and thank you, Chris. This has really been wonderful. And we will see you at another Dribble event. Bye, guys.